Welcome back to Thrive, your go-to channel for transforming health and revolutionizing indoor air quality in visionary environments.
Today, we're coming to you from the Thrive Linkage Symposium with a guest lecture from Alina Sarosiek on the secrets of neuroarchitecture.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on our latest content and leave a comment below to share your thoughts.
Now, my presentation is based on current knowledge about neuroarchitecture, and it's not a science as measurable as your science about air quality. However, because we're talking about psychology, psychiatry, physiology, so it's some of these items are measurable, but many are not, unfortunately, in a simple way. And there are difficulties in measuring our reactions very quickly, just because of very simple difficulty when somebody does something, when people access something we don't have MRI of. And when they are under MRI, we cannot measure certain things as well. So it's okay. It's not perfect, but I've done. Hopefully, you can read it. So we basically neuroarchitecture is born quite recently. It's relatively new science. However, it has been based on our capabilities and on how we react to certain things. And our brains evolved over millions of years. We as humans, I believe in evolution, and hopefully everybody does see it too. Our brains are at the moment quite different to what was happening millions and millions of years ago. Now, we have this, we are coming from a few species of humanoids, and our direct ancestor was Homo sapiens, who came to Europe and Eurasia about 250,000 years ago. However, the human traces in Africa have been found dated millions of years, as some people say it's even 6 million years, that we're talking about humanoids. So our brains still, we developed our prefrontal lobes, we developed many parts of the brain, but we have very strong limbic system, which assures our survival practically. The limbic system is well hidden. That's where the spine is connected to brain, and it's just in between the limbic system. And that's where we store our emotions, our memories, and that's how we regulate our activities. So with Homo sapiens, we are quite similar to what they were a long time ago, if it comes to the capacity of the brain. And we started using our cognitive capabilities to define our environment and to change it and to be able to survive. And before our time, about 99%, because we're talking about very, very long time, millions of years, our survival was really very short. We lived for not too many years. There were too many dangers, and it wasn't possible to reach old age, like about 40 was quite old then. So the society went in a different way. People were started joining forces, and we found traces of people living in various environments, and now discovered that very ancient civilizations were obviously in Middle East, and we've got traces of one city for 3,000 people, and dates to about 100,000 years ago. So we started living as a society quite a while ago. Then we also started building temples. So there was some belief system, and they discovered that in Turkey quite an old temple, which was it actually predates writing. So that was quite well developed, the architecture as such. Then we have the pyramids, and also a big breakthrough in Israel, current Israel. The arch was developed, so that allowed to build very different constructions. Now, our brains, it's only about 2% of body weight. So it's the average person's brain is about 1,500 grams. It varies between people, obviously, but the average is like is like that. But the total energy at rest is quite substantial. We need about 20% of our energy. That's why when we think intensively, quite often would reach for sugar, for chocolate, sugary, something sugary to give us the boost in energy. And the brain is obviously the most complicated organ that nature has ever created. 85 billion neurons in the brain. And the brain is not just neurons, it's also something more wide. And it's another 85, 90 billion cells. The other part of the brain is not very well researched. Just the gray matter is well researched, and we were able to map functions of the brain. Also, other things are changing now because we know the connections are not without interrelations. And we are hardwired to react emotionally very quickly. That's why emotions are very strong. And even if we rationally, an hour, 2 hours later, we think, oh, I shouldn't be reacting like this. We did, just because there is a trigger, and then we react to something in our environment. But first of all, if we feel that our need for safety is not fulfilled, we try to find it. So human behavior, of course, is a correlation between an individual, because everybody is slightly different, and also architecture, of course, affects us. Now, so as I mentioned before, for about 99% of our time, we are preoccupied with survival. So we would have to adapt to the nature and conquer the nature, because we started living in various environments. We started spreading to Europe and to colder climates as well. But we still have this old memory of preferred environment, and that's what they say, it's a savanna environment that we can control, which is mostly flat and green with brown, and it's you can actually see if something is moving there. if there is a danger, we do see it. So until now, if we are in the environment that is providing good air, good light, and there is water, nice landscape, and controlled fire, we still like fire. We do like it. We do like it. We pay a lot of money for our real estate in the right environment. The suburbs, even here in Brisbane, which are a little bit closer to the river, are more popular, or the suburbs closer to the parks. They are more popular, and we all pay more for this. So this is our direct contact with nature. We also, if we don't have this direct contact with nature, we start creating maybe indirect contact, which could be with pictures, with water, and simulated air. But quite often we are in an environment with processed air just because it's practical, and we can measure the quality of the air. It's still important. However, each one of us is very happy to step somewhere outside and breathe normal air, to spend a little bit of time outside. So what is happening now, that sometimes the processed air is changed, so it's got a right humidity, so it's not just clean to breathe, but also has a bit of humidity and maybe different pressure, and this way we can sort of relate a little bit more. With light, we also create situations that in some first of all, in factories, that's where they started their experiments, that the light is a little bit more blue during the day. So in the morning is more blue, air is dominant, and towards the end of the day, when the sun sets, the color is a little bit more yellow. So that's where, again, the color of the bulbs may change, or not everywhere yet, but I think with time it's going to happen. Now, what is neuroarchitecture? It's a new field of study that is looking into the impact of built environment on our emotions, cognitions, and behavior, and first of all, health. So it draws on psychology, neuroscience, and architecture design. So at the moment, we can start measuring certain aspects of our reactions to architecture and to interior design, although this is not that easy. The picture we see is actually coming from Spain and from Seville, when they decided to build nice shade in the center of the city. Now this is called mushroom. It's certainly popular because it reminds people of nature, and it's sort of quite an organic design. So in many countries, in old cultures, this neuroarchitecture sort of existed in an instinctive way, and in China we have Feng Shui. India has own ways to deal with it as well. Hindu Vastu Shastra, it's called. And in classical Greek architecture, there was a golden mean that was described by Vitruvius, who in some ways was describing the built environment, an ideal one. So to provide good ventilation, water, and the right density. About 20 years ago, Americans decided to join forces, and they organized the Academy of Neuroscience for Architecture. At the moment, it's about 400 members in the society, academy, and they do a lot of research. They have very close relationship with the Salk Institute for Biological Science. And the Salk Institute, you might remember, was actually opened and named by the guy who developed the polio vaccine. So that's a good brainstorm. Now, why are we talking about it? Why it's important? If architecture is built, like buildings are for humans, are designed not just in a practical way, but looking into humans, what they like, then we can start sort of building maybe more expensive way, but again, in the long term, it's worth doing it because people are more happy, more productive as well, and they are more healthy as well. So I was thinking when we are talking about the air quality and people getting sick in certain environments, we all know about sick building syndrome, but also we know that in certain situations, some people get infected, some people don't. So, but basically, our immune systems work so much better when we are basically happy and in the right environment. So it's worth assuring that we are not doing something around by people for feasibility. So assuring that natural light as much as we can, access to nature by maybe putting more and more plants around that would help people also with feeling better, but also I think controlling CO2 could be like also done by plants, maybe not as measurable as in other ways. So the key areas of study of neuroarchitecture is lighting and color, acoustics, the spatial organization, visual design. I do the big area of biophilic design, which basically talks about humans who like certain things. So the lighting and color make us feel in many ways. Light can change our emotional alertness. If we imagine there is no light here, I think it would be so much easier to fall asleep. And also, when we talk about spaces that would promote relaxation, we have warmer temperatures and also warmer light. With a good lighting, we can see better, of course, and that would promote, especially for kids, it's important that in classrooms they have access to very good lighting. And the colors, there is a lot of research done on colors. Now with colors, we have tendency to like the natural colors, and natural colors are red, orange, yellow. They promote feeling of warmth, feeling warm, and also they give us stimulation. Other colors, so-called cold colors, like green and blue, are very good for promoting relaxation and tranquility. So that's why many people would paint their rooms in different colors to achieve a different result. With how we see colors is also affected by the lighting. And in certain cultures also, certain colors are preferred to others. In India, yellow and red are significant colors because of the connection with nature, like turmeric, which is terribly popular as part of food industry. Turmeric is kind of yellow. Red is usually revered in many countries as a color of happiness and action. So in some cultures, the colors for well, maybe funerals are quite dark, so it is appropriate for a grieving person to wear dark colors. However, in China, it's quite interesting that pink is could be worn for funeral if the person was over 80, because that was sort of significant. It's significant because this person lived up to the old age, so that should be a sort of good sign the person had good life. So in our culture, obviously, we have certain preferences and many practical preferences, but again, we are obliged to wear certain colors in certain situations. So we feel better about it. Now, this color is quite interesting, and it's pink. It's a type of pink, and it was in the 70s. Some Americans were conducting research on colors. How do they feel at sort of looking at certain colors, and it was noticed that this certain pink, which I don't know if it's seen here, maybe not.
We can see.
Maybe I don't know if I can. Okay, it's a little bit. Maybe I want to add it. Now, there is a type of pink that is known as a color that is providing calmness. So with Americans being very practical, they decided, okay, we start painting our prison rooms in this color. So they started, then they noticed that people became very, very calm, and all the heart rate and the arousal was much, much lower. And why was that? We still don't know why this color has this effect. But if somebody was exposed to this color for too long, more than about 15-20 minutes, people had different reactions. They started being aggressive. So it's only good for a certain period of time. But again, Americans decided, okay, if we use this color for sporting events. So sometimes some people were quite cheeky and painted the wardrobes in pink of the other two opponents. So in some ways they hope to weaken them. So I don't know if that worked, but it's forbidden at the moment. Okay. With acoustics, we've got we have to noise control our noise and certain environments unfortunately promote us not being comfortable in the environment. Like the open space office has been promoted since 1906, and I think that was a famous architect, Lord Wright, that decided that open space, open office would give us more connections, and we would feel better being exposed to others. Unfortunately, the effect was the opposite, because people started feeling uneasy in open spaces. So the open space might be good for something easy to build. However, it's very difficult to work in this environment because of lack of privacy. And people also feel like being constantly observed and controlled. So people stopped communicating, started being stressed, and unfortunately, people started getting sick. That is, take sick days. So with that, I don't know when we actually will change it, because I can still see open offices being built. But in some settings, certainly we need to go into very private arrangements, especially in healthcare, when the privacy must be provided. The other aspect of neuroarchitecture is spatial organization. When I came here in the quite early in the morning, I sort of noticed where people were sitting, and that was exactly what we normally expect to happen. Usually people would sit at the back and in a situation that they can control the environment quite easily, and also not far from the door, so they can just in case they have the exit route. So it's a normal, natural tendency of feeling much better when we have control. So it's like our refuge, and we have our project. With spaces, it is noticed that high ceilings provide better space, better options for people to become more creative. However, if people need to do a certain task and do it quickly, low ceilings and quite cozy environment is preferred. So I don't know if you would just notice that how you behave at home, possibly, that sometimes we just need our own den, and that's where we feel good. That's where we work best. And then in the open space, we feel that we can maybe be more creative, and we can do other things. What's also important that we have, we know how to exit the building. Sort of in most public buildings, or in probably all of them, we have clear pathways how to escape in case of emergency. But in some environments, I think we feel confused if we are not quite sure how to exit. So again, that is quite important with the design, that we've got clear ways to leave the building. The other preferences that we have is to curve shapes. So again, we feel better when it's more, it's nicer for that. For us, we feel better when the shapes are a sort of bit rounded. So in many environments, like more homely environments usually have not even the furniture in that shape. I think. Now, biophilic design, that is very, very interesting topic, and basically what we are talking about before could be part of biophilic design, but some people define biophilic design only as bringing nature into environment. So the picture on the right, I'm not very clear, but this is the these are two buildings in Milan that incorporated trees. These were one of the first buildings incorporating greenery into the buildings. They're quite famous, and they're still in a very good shape. Again, they were a little bit more expensive to build, but I believe people are quite happy there. The picture on the left is the sphere in Seattle, built by Amazon, and again, they spent huge money on that few billions they invested into buildings. But they see that's actually, it was very well spent money, because even now you can people are coming to have a look at the how everything is organized. So the offices are sort of put in a way that everybody could see the nature. And the last picture on the right, that's Singapore. These are artificial structures, but they are in Marina Bay in the Garden Park. And again, they are very popular because people want to go and see nature. Apparently in the US, more people are visiting zoos and some establishment with nature than they would attend stadiums, which is quite interesting. Now, there are obviously short and long-term effects of architecture on the brain, and as Churchill said, we do shape our buildings, but later they shape us. So we started behaving as the building requires. And that's especially important in housing, and especially where young families live, because children who are exposed to low light, huge noise, pollution, they perform from the start, they perform so much worse at school, and then they perform much, much worse in the future life. So that's important. And again, the environment that is providing some interesting points, like, for example, the cities of Venice and Paris and Rome. We all like visiting these places. Why? Just because the buildings are different to what is happening now in across the river, especially. There is an emotional attachment to buildings, the shape of the buildings, the balconies. They are interesting, and they have history as well. We do like them, whereas the new architecture might be very practical, but we cannot really differentiate between buildings. It's just too difficult because they're very, very similar. So, and quite often when people are exposed to the flat, blank wall, they don't like it. They start putting something on it to make it more interesting. Otherwise, unfortunately, it's graffiti most often at the moment. But some enriched environment is much more interesting for everybody. Are we born to live in big cities? I don't know. There's apparently more illness in big cities. It could be related also to the proximity, but also maybe we are more stressed. So that's why maybe we somehow would be able to change our environments. Now, every building has its message, and we've got the Opera House, which is the obviously very well recognized Australian building, and it's just shows, I think, the modernity of Australia. It's maybe not as biophilic as it could be, but still everybody in the world would recognize its Sydney. The second picture is the new World Trade Center. And I think the message that they actually brought here, and not everybody knows about it, is the height of the building. And the height is exactly 1,776 feet. That's the year when there was Declaration of Independence signed. So there is this hidden message there also to the whole world. And this is a cute building on the left. It's in the shape of the cat. It's a childcare center. That's in Germany. So I think kids would be happy to come to be in such a building. And the building on the right, that's Disneyland in Paris. That these buildings, again, it's like from the old tale. It's a dream building. Again, when we enter this building, we have certain expectations which are fulfilled a lot in Disneyland. And St. Peter's Basilica, of course, it's everybody knows it. It's a very significant building for all Catholics, and it just shows how beautiful, rich, and glorious this building is for all Catholics to visit, and not only Catholics. All right, well, I think I finished for now, and we are probably running out of time. I don't know if there are any questions at all.
Thank you very much, Alina. This is really fascinating and so extremely important. Any aspect you mentioned about how you feel in buildings resonates with me perfectly. Moving to my new office in Pembroke, before moving, I said I was not going to move there unless they made a window, because this kind of adds what we think. They added these little offices to the open plan where we are discovering that ventilation is grossly inadequate, but also being very narrow, there's basically no light. You can see at a distance, but you need to use artificial light all the time, which is something I absolutely hate. I wouldn't have been able to imagine that out. So I said, I'm going to move there on condition that they will make that window. So I have window. But for the same token, when I compare how I perceive how much I need light with my husband, so if we enter together, and that was a retrospective experiment, we went to a business lunch at the airport. I deviated towards where the windows are, and he deviated to the darker part. That's how we always be so. We see so clear differences. What people need. When we were initially, when ELAC was going to be moved towards the EV building, and when I saw first this open offices on this, and I did everything possible that they wouldn't move us there. So, well, we were taking a lot of space, but I'm kind of magnified this, so they wouldn't be it. We now have, for the first time, we are now in a much larger open space that our office were before, and it does create problem, because people would like to talk, just hard to say, well, I want to say something to Henry just in two words. When I ask Henry to come to my office, we'll go there, but if I'm not, that's, so this doesn't help with
Nothing now. Text is the word.
that's right, yeah. So, but this really, as society, we completely ignore the psychology of buildings. Well, it's of course not the focus of Thrive, this aspect, but what we need to remember that whatever we do, whatever we try to do, we have to put the whole picture in the context, and we cannot say that, okay, we are only interested in air, indoor air, everything else is completely irrelevant. So to whatever extent we can, we should do this and we should promote this. And I was thinking when you were presenting these different pictures, I was thinking maybe when we are talking about schools, and particularly future schools, not only thinking about the space and the meditation, is there an aspect of psychology, which is so important for children, which one could also somehow bring in and promote? That's thought, but not complete.
That would be wonderful if that could be done, yes.
So, any questions? We don't have much time, but certainly there are.
What question? We were talking yesterday about the concept of a completely engineered recirculated air system with now you could scrub CO2 out of the air. So the question, is there any data or studies on people being able to perceive when air is outdoor, fresh air, versus indoor, with now this notion of stripping all the CO2 out of it, which is the main problem that everyone's trying to solve with outdoor air? I don't know. It's an open question. Because people in submarines, they would present some data for that.
Yeah, well, I don't know if people on submarines have really much choice, but I think they try to simulate as much as they can in nature. Otherwise, people get crazy in environments. So if you dry the air to the point that people feel it, I think it's not the right thing to do. You need to give certain type of humidity.
But you could engineer and condition the humidity too. I guess it's open. Is there a perceptive difference in outdoor air to completely engineered air?
Well, I'm sure that many people do perceive it. Well, at least in Brisbane, you see the difference, you feel the difference very easily between outdoor air and the office air. And yes, I think the office air, when it's terribly muggy outside, it's preferable for a short period of time, but then you go out and you have sort of a bit of a change. So now what they try to do is just to simulate this air in some completely closed environments that people have practically no choice. They have to be there. They can't leave. So people apparently feel better. Now, if it's usually subjective. And as I mentioned before, there is not much research done to confirm is a certain type of, like, is 70% of humidity better than or 50 or 40? I don't know if that has been done.
Since in relation to humidity, human comfort is between 40 and 60%. That's what I understand. But that's question what you feel about that. And actually, this aspect of well, I personally can detect difference between outdoor and indoor air. Of course, there are situations like last week that definitely was better to be indoors than it was better outdoors. But normally, access to outdoor air, that's what most people prefer, and they've been experiments on this. And that's why it's all that discussion all the time, natural, as we discussed, without mechanical ventilation, most public places would not function, but hybrid buildings, that's also part of what we are discussing. business drive. Can we have hybrid buildings such that they can operate on natural ventilation with bringing directly air from outside, but close up the buildings when the conditions, for whatever reasons, are not right? And well, there are different views on this, whether it's possible or not. But there is a push for making this possible. As I can imagine, to what extent it was tested, to what extent it's good of perception, and we prefer natural.
Yeah, we do. Even some hotels advertise that you can open a window at a hotel. So that's part of advertising.
Thanks for joining us at Thrive. Remember to like and subscribe for more valuable content in the future.